It's time for the chip race.
We are joined now by probably one of the best players in all of Great Britain. Almost 3.5 million in live winnings, 2.75 in online winnings, 17th on the GPI currently. Niall Farrell of Scotland, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me, guys.
I want to say first and foremost, just in case any of our listeners are not aware, because maybe they won't have seen the Twitter storm I've created, but Neil did big time us for at least an hour today before he showed up. He's claiming he was on the piss last night and just slept it out. I'm not sure. Maybe he fancied it was going to be a hostile interview, was trying to dodge us.
Yeah, I was going for my kind of Theresa May thing where I just don't take questions, but you guys got me in the end, so...
First of all, congratulations. I saw on Facebook recently that you just bought yourself a house.
That's right, yeah, just back in my hometown of Dumfries, so pretty happy at that, quite exciting.
Do you not worry though, Neil, that the decision such as that really badly hurts your personal brand as a lovable, carefree Scottish maniac?
Yeah, that was like one of the main like negatives against buying a house. The other thing is I can't actually gamble bits of the house, so like there was a couple of like definitely like big marks in the con category.
Maybe you could maybe you could stick like your conservatory on the table at some point, or like the garage.
Yeah, I mean I think it's like eventually. I mean I think it doesn't count as being grown up if you eventually put the house in a pot. So it's kind of swings and roundabouts on that, I think.
It seems like that's the new bankroll measure in poker now, like how many houses somebody has bought or sold. Or I think I remember Neil Channing telling me about some famous UK player who I won't name, but he said that he had his bankroll in van form at one stage, and as he ran through money at the poker table, he'd sell another van. But but it does seem now it's moved on to houses. Everybody's talking about how many houses they bought. So it's like, is this the first of many houses, or is this just like the only house you're ever going to buy?
I don't know. I think this actually I got quite a nice one. And it's like it's too big for just me, but the idea is it's pretty near to family. It's literally just around the corner from my sister's house. So it's like the times that I'm home, it's like good to be near family and stuff because I'm not really. I mean, I travel a lot to play poker, obviously. It's like. The risk of further damaging my street cred, it's like the second house I bought my mum's house like 6 months ago. So I'm a big mummy's boy, basically.
Here we go, two houses, no less. And I think I remember you telling me once that you were maybe the second most famous person in Dumfries. So is your house anywhere near the most famous person's, who's Calvin Harris?
It's actually the other side of Dumfries because he was in the bad area. You'd be very surprised to hear he doesn't actually live there anymore. And neither do his parents. He's like the main thing I was loving was his parents still live in Dumfries, but now they live in some like massive mansion in like in London somewhere. Obviously, I was like, that's a surprising turn of events. But so I think I probably am the most famous person now, like just by default. So it's pretty cool.
And is your fame come from? Does it come from your poker exploits these days, or does it still come from the fact that you used to be a footballer?
Yeah, like I remember when I met Neil, I had some vague memory that you were at Celtic or something, and you just didn't grow enough or something, or maybe you drank too much. I'm not sure.
The last two parts I was never at Celtic. I was never that high a level. I was pretty high, but never like. I was too bad for the low level that I was at, so it's kind of like the least braggy conversation ever. But yeah, I used to play it pretty decently. I did get paid to play, but it was never like, I mean, Christ, I'm barely allowed to watch Celtic. Never mind like play for them. So,
but you were a professional footballer.
Yeah, for like close to a year or so. Like when I was 17, but it's quite a surprise to people now because I think since I played poker I've never been anywhere near to what could be described as athletic shape.
I remember I watched you have a kickabout on the beach in Barcelona with Jay Cody there a couple of years ago. I thought, wow, he's definitely still got something.
Mate, you don't lose it, something. The brain's still there, and if
memory,
it's like. And if someone could, if I could just stand on the penalty spot and people could just like get me the ball, like I could probably be all right. But it's the whole moving part I'm struggling with nowadays. Like that's quite tough. So it makes it a bit this modern football where people have to be quite fit. Like, nah, I'm not. It's not for me, you know.
Yeah, I think after the football, you did something else which people might, I guess, find surprising. You studied law in college. How did that how did that happen, and how did it lead to poker?
Yeah, I was like, a lot of people would probably be very surprised. Like, I was just like shockingly, I was like pretty much a straight A student, and I kind of just fell into law the same way that I've fallen into everything in my life. Like, I didn't work out what courses I wanted to do. I didn't even look at the university I went to. I was just like, all right, well, I guess I'll do law. And then I was like, oh, still in uni. It's like, okay, I'll do that. And I just kind of turned up on the first day. I remember my dad actually dropped me off, and he says, all right, son, well, see you when you've got a degree, and just drove home.
Close family.
Nah, he was like, he was joking, like, we're pretty close, but he was yeah, it was just, that was me. I was just there, and yeah, I did law at Stirling, and near the end of it I started to get into, I'd always like quite enjoyed like watching poker. I used to watch late night. Like, I think it's probably quite a common thing amongst the UK players is used to watch late night poker with like Devilfish and Helmuth and everything, and used to really enjoy that. And then we used to play amongst friends at uni when we were too skint to go out. We'd just sit and play, and like we'd put The Office on TV and just play a few game of cards or whatever. And then near the end of my last year at uni, my girlfriend at the time, she for my birthday got me a year's subscription to to a poker training site or something. It was called Poker Ponage back in the day. I don't know if anyone remembers this. And I just got more serious after that. Like, started talking to people on the forums and stuff, and then saved up eventually for one lesson, and that was it. Basically, it was all downhill from there.
Well, Niall, in researching for this interview, because I'm a thorough researcher if nothing else, I did spot a fantastically written piece in the Daily Record where you admitted that a love of gambling drew you to poker, but almost bankrupted you during your student days. I think there was one bet involving maybe a Scottish club. Do you want to tell us about that one?
Yeah, I'm still bitter about this. Fucking Aberdeen. I still remember. So I think it's a kind of cultural thing. It's probably, I dare say it might be the same thing in Ireland, but you are exposed to gambling at a very young age in Scotland. And yeah, I fucking got my student loan in for the month, and Bayern Munich were 2-1 on to beat Aberdeen, and I was like, well, if I just put my whole student loan on, then I'll have an extra 50% student loan this month. So that seems like a good deal for me. So yeah, I did it, and Aberdeen just put in the absolute performance of a lifetime. And this is the game that led me to absolutely hating Luca Toni. Just watching that smug git just not give a fuck about being offside all game just made me. I wanted to drive to Italy and just like visit him personally. But yeah, Aberdeen. I think it was either 2-2 or 3-3, and. I was living in, like, there was 4 guys in our house, and my friend Mike, he was from like that area, so like, and I told him like, yeah, we like, let's be honest, Aberdeen are not winning this tie. We could really do with them just losing this game, so I have a lot of money rather than just no money for the month. And yeah, they got like one of the most famous results in their history. They drew at home. I was just like, oh wow, I just get to eat fucking super noodle sandwiches for the rest of the month. That's wonderful. And yeah, and he was just celebrating. I was like, there's no point. They just lost 6-0 in fucking Germany the next week or whatever. I was like, obviously, like, I was just so tilted. I just couldn't breathe on this situation at all. But if anything, it taught me a lesson, and I didn't gamble again until, you know, I had money next month. So.
Yeah, your live results are pretty modest until April 2012, and then in the space of 6 days you won an Irish Open side event for 33k, and you were third in UK IPT Nottingham High Roller for 21k. How significant were those two results to you at the time?
They were significant. It was like the first time I'd actually won money playing live, but I was pretty lucky that the week before the Irish Open I actually won F-Top's main event for like $250,000, which was like pretty handy, obviously. But it was like, in terms of like, I think every online player goes through this like Well, they used to anyway. Maybe not so much now, but they used to, like, even people like the absolute online greats like Moorman and stuff. Like, there used to be a thing about, yeah, it's like, just stick to online, mate. You can't win live, and that's basically how it used to be. Like, I've just played a year where I was just you have this thing, you want to sit down and play every pot live, and I was just out of every tournament just so fast. So like actually winning a live tournament and then going deep in the next one, it's like, okay, maybe this live thing might be turning a corner here where I can actually win some money at it. But yeah, it was pretty good.
And like, did you feel that you had to readjust to playing live, that you were maybe playing too many hands or whatever, or was it just variance?
No, it was definitely the first one. Like, I think at the time I was saying it was variance, but I was just playing really shit. Like, it's like I would play in like a different way from like, you'd sit down at a live tournament and you'd be like, oh wow, like king 3 off in the cutoff, better raise, and you just never do that online. But for some reason you would, when you're live, you're like, oh fuck, I haven't played a hand in like 8 minutes, better play one. Like, and it's just playing really like poorly. Like, and I'm pretty fortunate now that like, I think I'm probably better at live poker now than I am at online poker, because, you know, I'm getting old and stuff.
It was a UKIPT Isle of Man in, I think, was it 2013? We met for the first time in the Cup, I think we played, and you pretty much, like, I don't want to, well, maybe this gives you back some of your street cred, but you played the entire day one locked, and bossed everyone around. You ended up finishing the day with the biggest stack, and then just decided not to, a bit like this morning actually, just decided not to show up for day 2 for about an hour.
Yeah, that was actually, yeah, that was pretty accurate. I was really drunk, and then I was really hungover on day 2. But then the only way to not be hungover was to drink more. So unfortunately, like, we got to the final table, and it was like, I don't know if you know, like Dominic Morley and Richie P and Ricky, Glaswegian Ricky as well. So like the final table was just full of like people that I'd quite happily drink in the pub with. So it was like we all just started drinking, and it was just such a fun like final table.
Yeah, I think that was actually the same UKIPT that I played with you for the first time, probably as well, live in the main event.
I remember that actually. Yeah, I do, because I remember messaging you going, I didn't know that was you. Like, I was just like, I was doing a lot of my, let's try and, you know, make this older gentleman fold a hand, please. And then afterwards it's like, oh, that's Dara. I was like, oh fuck, I wish I had those hands back, you know.
Yeah. Well, look, the one thing that is going to become a common theme throughout the rest of this interview is that you are and you have been just so ridiculously consistent. There's been I don't think there's been a single dry spell. In 2013 you went out to the World Series, cashed 5 times, including second in event 44 for 366k. That was a pretty sexy result.
Yeah, it was good. Although, I mean, I still don't have a bracelet, and I had like such a I started that heads up with an 11-1 chip lead, and I had that guy in 8 times all in for the bracelet, and he just won all 8 times. I was like, can this be what's happening? He was actually nice. He's a super nice guy, a good player as well, and then he ended up winning that one. But I was just like, I just couldn't believe that I hadn't won. Like, I was like, obviously I was super happy at the score and stuff, but I was like, I didn't chop either, and I mean, at that point my role was such that I should have been chopping, but I was like, it was one of those where I'd like 11-1 heads up. I was like, I'd already mentally won first prize, which is quite dangerous, so I didn't want to chop, and then it was like, fuck, yeah. I just got beat. But yeah, and that was like a pretty big score for me at the time.
I can't remember what year it was, but I remember railing an F-Tops final table as well, because actually my friend Espen Sorley Shawshank was on that final table.
Oh yeah.
And you were there as well. Yeah, it was that Sunday when Espen had that amazing, I think he chopped the F-Tops and the Sunday Million on the same day. Like, when you think back to your big online final tables, do you have the same kind of strong memories about them as the live events?
Yeah, actually I do, especially because like my kind of big, like, most of my big online finals were before I'd done anything live, so they were like the kind of first big finals. Like, I can still remember my absolute first my first ever big final was a 1k remember if you remember multi-entries on Full Tilt back in the day. It was a 1k. Yeah, fucking hell, Christ! hate to be a backer back in those days. It's like, yeah, you lost 22k on a Wednesday. It's like, yeah, these things happen. But yeah, I final to 1k multi-entry F-tops, and this is my average ban at the time was like $40. Just my backer had actually phoned me at the start of the tournament. He was like, let's take a little shot today, and I was like, oh cool, would you like maybe play a little 300 F-tops or something? He's like, yeah, let's do 4 entries in the F-tops 1k. And I was like, being the kind of person I was like, all right, fuck it, let's do it. And got to the final table. I think my net worth at that point was maybe around about 4k, and first was $500,000, and I was just like, what the fuck? I go in 3 of 9, and this was before ICM was a thing. Like, I was just like, all right, and then I just instantly get 9th, and I was like, oh, this is just, I just hate this game so much. But I still remember, like, I was actually at a friend of mine's Pizzicato Zevs back in the day. Like, he was backed by the same guy. He's like an old school grinder. I don't know if anyone knows him. But I was at his house, and I had to go back to Glasgow the next day, and I was at the final table googling how much a helicopter would be home, so I didn't have to get the train. And I think karma just busted me 9th at that point. But I still remember it was pretty funny. I mean, it was not funny at the time, but looking back, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you brought that up. I railed you recently on the final table of the Party Poker Millions in North America, and it was a pretty tough final table, it's fair to say. But it did seem to me that you were at least like factoring in ICM to some degree.
Yeah, that's a really good example, because like the way it was set, the table was set up in my seat, like the final table was good, like pretty much just good players. But even then, like I was getting. I managed to, like, I went from like, what was I, 7 of 8 or 6 of 8, and I managed to put myself in a position where, like, I basically got 3 outed for what would have been, like, I would have had double second place. But it was like, that if people were playing, like, even in that spot, if that was like an online tournament, like, I think I just wouldn't have been able to open the hands that I was opening and stuff. Like, I think I would have just been put in my place, basically. But like the fact, like, in my seat and being 6 of 8, like, I should have had to have got like really lucky to be able to have a shot at that, and that just kind of wasn't the case at all. And I think it's a good example of like people don't play like as aggressively at big finals as they should. So it's that's quite an interesting like example, actually, I think, of that.
And you mentioned getting 3 out of there. Your exit was pretty brutal, because I can't remember the exact details, but basically you had been limping from the small blind quite a lot into the chip leaders big blind, maybe your entire range, and you limped with kings, as you should, obviously, if you're limping all the weak hands. And then I think he just ripped for how many bigs effective was it?
40.
Really, that much? Okay, with ace jack, and obviously you snap with the kings, and I think if he went on to win the tournament. Obviously, I think if you had held, you were going on to win the tournament. First of all, like, what did you feel about his shove? And like, secondly, how much did it hurt, obviously, to lose that enormous hand?
I think, like, yeah, he's like, I think, like, the idea of, like, I know what he was trying to do. Like, I know he's hopes ace online. He's run at Once Pro. He's a good player. He's a very good tournament player. I think, like, that's not the optimal way to play. I understand what he's trying to do, which is, like, I mean, my calling range is just so tight there. He'd already shoved, like, 35 bigs on me when I limped with ace 7 off, and I had to fold. I think, I understand what he's trying to do. Like, I do have to call off super tight, but, like, I had adjusted at that point. Like, I was limping a lot less. I mean, it's a pretty easy game plan for me to adjust to, which is what happened. But I mean, just like, it was quite a large equity beat. But I've definitely put those on people before. So.
Speaking of the times when you were on the good side of that variance, the very first week I moved to Malta, I've been living here for a couple of years now, was October 2015, and of course that was the week you managed to take down the Malta EPT for 534k. Not a bad score.
Yeah, it was a good week.
Did you feel like that week you had run above expectation, put those beats on other people, or was it just a much more consistent journey?
Well, I mean, I feel like I'm bound to say no. That was just outplaying people. No, you know. No, no. I mean, that one actually I didn't like. There wasn't like any like massive suckouts did, but like I ran so good in other ways. Like I just apart from the 9-10 suited hand, which is quite famous, where I punted it off and got there against Queens for quite a lot. But apart from that, there was no like major suckouts. But I was just like there's so many like kind of like hidden run good ways. Like I would just like get it in for 20 bigs. I'd have ace queen, the guy'd have ace jack instead of fives. You know, just stuff like that happened a lot. Where you would be normally just like you could easily be flipping or beat, but you just had the guy pipped and stuff. So I had that happen a lot. And I think like overall, apart from that 9-10 suited hand where I got way out of land, I was like really happy with how I played. And the final table in particular, like I had a game plan, and it helped that I did get a lot of good cards at the final table, which makes it a lot easier. But like I think like the final table I played really well. So I was pretty proud of that, even though like obviously to win, like, I mean I think it's hard to say, 'cause, like to win any tournament, like the nature of winning a tournament is you must have been lucky, because you can't win a tournament without being lucky.
Yeah, but then again, as I said earlier, the consistency speaks for itself. And if I'm to run through just a handful of your other results: April 2016, second in FPS Monte Carlo for 128 grand. June 2016, second in WSOP Shootout for 163 grand. July 2016, eighth in the one drop. That was a huge one. That's probably the biggest buy-in you've played. For 486k, and I think you were a bit handcuffed on that one, and then you eventually had tens and you ran tens into a bigger hand or something.
Yeah, it was like that one drop final table was hilarious, because it was like, even to this day I think it's like a hierarchy of sun runners. So it's like you have me, I've ran like an 8 out of 10 pure in my entire career, and then it's like I'm up against Joe McKeon, who's like at least a 10 out of 10. He might be an 11. So it's like it is fitting that like I have tens, and he's like, yeah, I've got queens. And then you've got Fedor, who wins, who's like not content with being the best tournament player in the world, he's also just the one that runs the best as well, which isn't really fair for anyone else. So it's like pretty tough combination to beat, you know, just the luckiest and best player, who then just wins it all. And not only that, his fucking horse, it was all in as a flip to bust before me as well, and just rivers an ace. So like his horse finishes third as well. So he just won like 75% of the prize pool himself. It's like, oh, pretty nice few days for you, mate. But yeah, it was actually like it was pretty funny the way it worked. But yeah, that was actually really fun. And I'm going to play it again this year. I was kind of on the fence because I've put a lot of money into the houses, and it's at the very start of the series this year. They've moved it, because normally
is it a milli one this year, or is it 100k again?
100k, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I would try and play the milli, I think, but it's going to be like just the world record for the smallest piece someone has of themselves would be in danger of being broken.
Before we go, Neil, I want to ask you. You won the WPT Punta Cana Caribbean tournament for 335 grand there about a year ago, or maybe less. Which made you, of course, a two-tour champion, making maybe it all the more bitter that you lost that heads up, because you would be one of the few Triple Crown winners out there. How big a feather in your cap was it to kind of bink something on a second tour?
It was really good for me, because I have got designs on the Triple Crown. Like, that is something I'm going for, and I'll put it on record right now that I will do it this year. I will win a bracelet in Vegas this year. The main one is, to be honest, is because the World Series of Europe's in Rosvadov, and I just don't want to go back to Rosvadov. Please don't send me back. So the poker room is fantastic, don't get me wrong. It's great if you just want to play poker, but it's not. As you probably have noticed, I kind of enjoy extracurricular activities a bit more than the poker normally. So
yeah, I remember hanging out with you actually with WSOP Europe when I was in Berlin, and I think it's fair to say Berlin is one of the nicer places too.
Yeah, God, I love that city. It's so good, such a great city. Yeah, but yeah, no, like
I've some very happy memories from then. I think I actually won a drinking contest against you somehow.
Yeah, you did actually. I couldn't understand how that happened. Like, I still
nobody believes this story. Literally nobody, because I'm shit at drinking, and everybody just assumes that you're really good at drinking.
Yeah, I mean,
are you saying he's not really good at drinking?
Yeah, I mean, I am quite good at drinking as well. I don't understand how that did it. I remember that actually. Yeah, I was like, Yeah, that was a very strange day.
Just an off day, maybe.
Before we let you go, Neil, I just wanted to recap on one thing. When you did the Scottish Poker podcast back in 2015, our good pal Willie Elliott kindly pointed out that you were 2.5 million behind David Vamplew on the Hendon Mob Scotland charts. That gap is now just 400k. Will Vampy be getting it up him in 2017, to borrow some Scottish parlance?
I fancy my chances. He's not playing as much as he used to, which is making it a bit easier for me. He's all loved up and married now. He's not on the tour as often, and I am cheating just playing tournaments that have like 100k buy-ins. Like that is just cheating, really. But yeah, I think I'll get him. I think I'll catch him this year. Like unless he'll be out, I think he'll be out for the series, and he tends to do very well at the series, so that might be a little spanner in the works. But if I was a gambling man, I would bet on it, me having it by this time next year at least.
Well, there you have it. The man who thought Aberdeen would get hammered by Bayern Munich says that, you know, you should put some money on him to overtake Vampy this year.
Get the student loan on it.
Listen, thank you so much, Neil. Really, really good fun having you on the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Thanks very much. It was a lot of fun.
Definitely worth the wait.